Do you ever wonder why most people looking to lose body fat and take action towards it don't end up losing fat? No matter how many times they exercise through countless hours every single day, their weight remains stable or they might gain weight. And for the worst part, they still remain the same. They're not losing fat, and their encouragement to lose body fat diminishes, and they're like, screw that, I'd rather be fat than losing body fat. This was me. Throughout my journey, starting at the age of 14, I was committed to losing every fat I had to leverage my confidence, feel good, and look good for myself. Though, once I started becoming 14, I went through countless hours of exercising every single day through girl-like exercises and doing so much cardio to just lose the fat. Though, once I hit the 2-month range, and as I was about to start my journey through high school, I was literally the same. After countless hours of exercising, hoping to improve myself and become the best looking version of myself. Though I solely focused on exercise alone, though that didn't really work. I was disencouraged by that. I just felt shit until I was taught about nutrition in high school. And as I've done research in my own time about nutrition, I realized in order to lose fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. And there are certain types of food that will help you stay in that calorie deficit while enjoying food and not feeling like you're restricting yourself from food, therefore diminishing your relationship with food. Therefore, in this video, I'll be going over the foods that will help you get shredded while being on a calorie deficit, going from goddess tier all the way down to garbage tier, meaning that certain food is not good for you, including your health and as well as your fat loss journey. Therefore, you should cut it out completely. So the first food that we'll go over will be bananas, one of Minions' staple food. Honestly, this is actually one of the cleanest whole foods on the planet. I mean, it's filled with loads of potassium, it is rich in vitamin B6, including manganese, and is a decent source of magnesium. This is a staple for both cutting and bulking. I mean, it's literally clean whole foods. Although despite the fact that it has a lot of carbs than many other fruits, it's still a good source of potassium, and you can still incorporate it in both bulking and cutting. It literally helps me de-bloat my face when loading up on potassium. So for that reason, I'll be putting it in mid because of the phytoestrogens in bananas, depending on the type of banana you buy, whether that is organic or not organic. Still, they're both going to contain phytoestrogens, though the organic version is less worse than the conventional bananas. And this also accounts for the glycemic index. The more ripe it is, the higher the glycemic index of this banana is, and it will lead to more insulin resistance, therefore storing more of that glucose as fat. Therefore, I'll be putting bananas in the mid tier. Next up, we have avocados. Now, that is also a staple for both bulking and cutting because it's loaded with healthy fats as well as monounsaturated fats. Even though it contains omega-6 fatty acids, the amount of omega-6 is basically a minimum. However, it is a really good source of monounsaturated fats, and it's a decent source of vitamin E, one of the hardest vitamins to get in your diet. For that reason, I'm going to put this in cutting staple because this would be a great assistant to your keto diet journey. especially when it comes to going on a calorie deficit, because you can incorporate avocados in a variety of ways to get those healthy fats in. Alright, next up we have nuts. It can be nuts in general, but this is almond butter. This would be typically a bulking food because even with 1 spoon of almond butter, it contains too many calories. Like you can easily bump up the calories a lot when it comes to having almond butter. However, it does come with vitamin E and magnesium, which again, one of the hardest vitamins to get in your diet. And magnesium, for a fact, is one of the hardest minerals to get through your diet. And it's crucial for better quality sleep, therefore increasing your testosterone levels naturally. However, this comes with the cost of phytoestrogens, which basically prevents testosterone being produced in your body, therefore producing more estrogen. Just like how conventional foods literally makes your body produce more estrogen. However, in terms of its nutrient density and in terms of the caloric content of almond butter or nut butters in general, I'm going to be putting this in bulking foods. Alright, next up we have rice. Now, I've heard many people say that rice can be good for both bulking and cutting. Well, in my experience, I find this to not be good for cutting for several reasons. One, it's high in the glycemic index, and two, it's filled with refined carbohydrates, which basically removes the bran and germ from the rice that basically contains the fiber and micronutrients, leaving one part of the rice intact in the white rice, which is basically the starchy part of rice. However, you might find it in nutritional databases that white rice does contain more B vitamins and other nutrients, though majority of the time it would be synthetic vitamins and minerals. And plus, it's loaded with phytoestrogens, especially phytic acid, which is horrible for nutrient absorption in terms of iron, magnesium, zinc, and calcium. So for that reason, I'm gonna put this in the garbage tier. Next up, we have bagels. Now, this really depends on the type of bagels you buy and how much you eat it. One bagel can be calorically dense, whereas half a bagel would be moderately calorically dense. However, bagels are basically made out of mostly refined grains, which basically is as bad as white rice. And usually it's filled with synthetic vitamins and minerals. And it's literally high in the glycemic index as well, which doesn't keep you satiated and literally makes you go through a sugar rush and make you end up in feelings of fatigue due to the high glycemic index. Also, it is hard to find the healthiest bagels in the store nowadays because most of them contain additives and preservatives that are unhealthy for you internally. For that reason, I'm going to put bagels in the garbage tier. Next up, we have berries. I love berries because they're really versatile, they're very low in calories, and they help add tons of flavor into your foods. It can be used in smoothies, be on top of pancakes, be on top of smoothie bowls, yogurt bowls. It can be used in several ways. However, it's not satiating though. It does load up with fiber as well, which is basically an anti-nutrient. Though, if you load up too much on fiber, here's a fact, if you load up too much on fiber, this would lead to constipation, but when you're too low on fiber, you will end up with not much of constipation, though fiber is still important, so I would just keep it a little bit moderate. Plus, berries are very nutrient dense, to be honest. Even though it contains phytoestrogens, if you get the organic ones, you're good. But in terms of the caloric density, it's really low, to be honest. It's literally low. So for that reason, I'm gonna put this in goddess tier actually. Next up, we have bread. Now this really depends on the type of bread you buy and how much you eat it though. For 2 slices of bread, you're not gonna get that much calories in. However, some breads can be higher in calories depending on the brand you buy and the type of bread. And some would be low in calories, such as protein bread, keto bread, and whole grain bread. Though most breads you see in the aisle are basically filled with additives and preservatives, so you gotta be careful on that. And in terms of caloric density, like again, some are high and some are low. But in my opinion, I find this to be still incorporable in both cutting and bulking as well. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it in mid tier, despite the fact that it does contain phytoestrogens, unless you get the organic ones. So I'm just gonna put it in the mid tier. Next up, we have brown rice. Now I know a lot of you wouldn't even like brown rice because of its cardboard texture and taste. However, I do like brown rice though, and to be honest, it does fill you up when you eat more of it. However, it's still calorically dense, though white rice has more calories than brown rice. The downside of brown rice, it does contain phytic acid and high amounts of arsenic, including phytoestrogens, which that is a negative downfall for brown rice, which therefore rice in general contains phytic acid and phytoestrogens. And brown rice in particular does contain more arsenic than white rice. So it's both bulking and cutting food, though it is less worse than white rice in terms of how healthy it is, even though it contains the arsenic, the phytoestrogens, and the phytic acid. So for that reason, I'm going to put it into bulking food because of how calorically dense it is for like per gram of this kind of rice. Next up, we have burgers. Straight up garbage tier because most burgers that you find outside are literally filled with unhealthy stuff, additives and preservatives and emulsifiers. Like in most fast food places, you don't even know what they're putting in your food. Like it can contain other chemicals that disrupt your metabolism and as well as how you digest the food. Like there are various foods affect on how you metabolize them in terms of your caloric intake as well. And it does affect your internal health as well. So if you consume burgers outside, you're not even going to be doing good, man. Like it's not going to help you in the long term in terms of your fat loss journey. So I'm just going to put it in garbage tier. This is based off of outside of homemade burgers. If you make homemade burgers with healthy ingredients, that would be good. I would elevate it to the top tier, depending on how calorically dense you make it. But for cutting, I believe that you can make burgers low calorie and when you make it homemade. Though in terms of the outside store-bought fast food versions of burgers, they're garbage, man. Alright, next up we have chicken breast. That is one of the goddess tier protein sources ever because that contains minimal fat and is literally high in protein per calorie. However, most chicken breasts would be fed with corn and soy, so I'll be careful with that. If you don't have access to grass-fed chicken breasts, I would just have to go for the conventional chicken breast. Though in terms of its caloric density, it's literally low. It's literally low in calories and higher in protein. And it's really versatile and it literally helped me get my protein in. So for that reason, I'm gonna put it in goddess tier. Next up, we have diet sodas. Now, in terms of its caloric density, it's literally 0 calories. However, the downside of diet sodas is it contains like aspartame and artificial flavors, additives, and preservatives, which is not good for your internal health. I mean, I don't ever use diet sodas in my cutting phase, to be honest, because you can literally consume water, which is basically crucial to feed your muscles with water to maintain muscle mass. However, it is useful when it comes to cutting for most people. However, in terms of your internal health, I find it garbage though. So for that reason, garbage tier. Next up, we have dried fruits. Now, typically this would be higher in calories because of the water being taken out of the fruits, therefore leaving the natural sugars in the fruits to be retained. Though this would typically be a bulking food, to be honest, because even with small amounts of dried fruit, it would still contain moderate to high calories. And plus, it's literally high in the glycemic index as well. Unless you control it through having high protein meal, including moderate fat. I wouldn't even make the fats high though in one meal because of the Randall cycle. If you know, you know. Though for your overall caloric intake, you can incorporate high fats to basically control the blood sugar spike through the dried fruit. But in terms of its caloric density, you can easily nibble down dried fruits and not be aware that you're consuming too many calories though. Some dried fruits would be beneficial, while some, it's not going to keep you satiated. And it's going to keep your blood sugar high and basically go through a sugar crash. So I'm just going to put it in bulking food in general though. Next up, we have whey protein isolate. So basically the leanest version of whey protein powder. However, it contains little to no carbs and fats, and it's just the protein. However, the downside of whey protein isolate is many products of this particular food contains artificial flavors, additives, and preservatives, which is a downfall to your health in the long term. However, if you get the right product that is basically clean and does not contain any of the additives and preservatives, you'll be good. Though in terms of its usability and a calorie deficit, I'd say that this is useful easily when it comes to getting your protein in. So this also helped me get my protein in as well, and considering the fact of how nutrient dense it is, I'll put this in the goddess tier, above berries, and I should put chicken breast right at the second place before berries. This is based off of the whey protein isolate you would find at Bulk Bar, because they usually have the cleanest whey protein isolate you can ever find nearby and is much more affordable. You can also get the healthiest whey protein isolate versions online through shopping, though in terms of physical shopping, I'll go for Bulk Bar whey protein isolate. But if you buy that one, that would be considered in the goddess tier. Next up, we have Greek yogurt. Now, this really depends on the type of Greek yogurt you buy or the type of yogurt you buy. Some can be flavored, some can be full fat, and some can be skyr. Though the good side of it is a decent source of calcium and is a good source of probiotics, and it's really versatile, to be honest. I can put it into yogurt bowls, smoothies, and it just makes my food taste 10 times better. Though in terms of cutting, I'll be talking about fat-free yogurt because it's usually lower in calories and higher in protein per calorie. I'll put this in cutting staple because it's basically made from pasteurized milk, which basically takes away all the probiotics and enzymes that it would have had if it wasn't pasteurized. It's still a good food and a good source of protein, and it's great for cutting nonetheless. I'll just leave it in the cutting staple. Depends on the type of yogurt you buy, either fat-free Greek yogurt or skyr. Skyr is still basically low in calories and high in protein as well. It's basically the same thing, but the difference, it would be the texture and the flavor. Next up, we have eggs. Eggs are literally one of the most nutrient-dense foods in the entire planet. It's loaded up with vitamin A in the form of retinol, B vitamins, choline, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K2, and like selenium and zinc. Not much in zinc. Though the main point here is eggs are nutrient dense, especially with the yolks. The yolks contains most of the nutrients compared to the egg whites, though the egg whites contain just the selenium and vitamin B2, whereas for the egg yolks, for all of the critical nutrients that I have talked about would be retained in the egg yolks. Though it should be incorporated into your fat loss diet as well. I mean, it's still important when it comes to getting your nutrients in. It's literally a cheat code to getting your micronutrients in through eggs. So for that reason, I'm gonna put this in goddess tier actually. Next up, we have egg whites. Egg whites are easily the best protein source per calorie. Like you can easily get your protein in through egg whites for less calories. Many bodybuilders use egg whites to get their protein in easily. And it is a good source of vitamin B2 in the form of riboflavin and selenium, though it does contain nutrient losses because of the egg yolk being taken away. Though if you incorporate egg yolks into your diet, you're good. For egg whites, it's still a good source of protein for less calories. It's literally the GOAT, literally a cheat code. This deserves to be in God tier. If you can get the organic version, I'll put it in God tier, but in terms of in general and the caloric density, this has to be in God tier, man. Next up, we have vegetables. When I talk about vegetables, I talk about any other type of vegetables. Now, they're literally easy to incorporate to your diet because a variety of vegetables contains more vitamins and minerals for your body to fulfill its nutritional requirements, for your body to be in an anabolic state. On the downside of it is some contains goitrogens, which is basically a chemical compound in foods that basically prevents iodine absorption through your thyroid, and as well as phytoestrogens. Vegetables are still good to incorporate to your diet because they're literally lower in calories and they're way filling than most foods. They're easily one of the most satiating foods on the planet. If you get the organic versions of vegetables, this has got to be in God tier. Though, in terms of its phytonutrients, I'm gonna put it in cutting staple. It's still good, though with the phytoestrogens, I'm just gonna put it in cutting staple. Next up, we have, you guessed it, protein bars.
Tastes like shit.
So for this, I don't even eat protein bars, to be honest. It basically tastes like cardboard, and it's just filled with plant-based proteins, which is basically incomplete protein from protein bars. Even with protein bars made out of whey, it's still filled with additives and preservatives, which is basically going to diminish your health long term. I wouldn't even eat a single bit. I would just rather get it from Whole Foods, to be honest. So, garbage tier. Right after white rice. Next up, we have this cute little fishes. Yeah, those cute little fishes, the cute little Nemos. They're really a good source of vitamin D, choline, and omega-3s. Like, they're really a good source of omega-3s in the form of EPA and DHA. Don't worry, I'll go through more about omega-3s in the future videos. Though, in terms of its nutrient density, it's literally nutrient dense. It's literally a good source of vitamin D. Literally. Depending on the type of fish you consume, ideally salmon would be a good source of vitamin D. Though fish in general, it's literally a good source of protein for less calories, man. This is one of the go-tos food for getting your protein in while being in a calorie deficit. They're also filling as well. They're not going to ruin your fat loss journey. It's just going to fill you up easily, man. So for that reason, God tier. Next up, we have, you guessed it, canned fish. Now, you may see this in many bodybuilders' diet. Canned fish is basically one of the most versatile ways to get your protein in without even cooking at all. Like, it's filled with omega-3s as well. Same nutrients as fish, though depending on the type of fish you buy. So I'm going to put this in goddess tier. Whenever I'm not in the mood of cooking fish or any other meats, I would just go for canned meats, or like ideally canned fish, because I can easily get my protein in and get my nutrients in, especially with the omega-3s, man. Next up, you weren't expecting this though. It's raw milk. Now, the reason I put this in this tier is because it's literally one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. Like, it's filled with probiotics and enzymes compared to most milks you see in stores, which are basically pasteurized. Raw milk specifically is unpasteurized milk. It retains all of its bioavailable nutrients as well as the bioavailable fatty acids. There's literally over 400 essential fatty acids in raw milk, as well as the beneficial antibodies that prevent you from getting downfalls into your health as well. It especially contains enzymes that prevents you from feeling bloated if you're lactose intolerant. Raw milk is basically lactose free because it contains the enzymes that break down lactase. Lactase is basically responsible for our uncomfortable feeling in the gut. It literally causes us to feel bloated and not have a good time in the bathroom. Raw milk is literally retaining a lot of nutrients compared to pasteurized milk. When it comes to the pasteurization process, all the probiotics and enzymes are just diminished. Though after the pasteurization process, the manufacturers basically add back the nutrients in. Therefore, just to maintain the milk's nutrient density. And plus, it's a good source of IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, which is basically also crucial for building muscle mass as well, and other things as well. So, however, in terms of its caloric content, it is high in calories. If I were to have raw milk, it would just be both bulking and a cutting food. Therefore, raw milk has to go to the mid tier. Next up, we have milk. That would be, when I'm talking about milk, I'm talking about the pasteurized milk. There are various types of milks, either whole milk, semi-skimmed milk, and skimmed milk. Depending on the type of milk you buy, that would influence on how helpful it would be in your fat loss journey. For me, skim milk would be helpful when it comes to my fat loss journey because it's low in calories and is higher in calcium as well, and higher in protein as well. Like, you can drink more milk for less calories, which is why I just consume skim milk. Though whole milk would contain more calories, though it is pretty addictive in terms of having the milk sugars. Like, it can be addictive, man. And from my own experience though, you gotta be careful if you're lactose intolerant, because that will not give you a good time in the bathroom. So just be careful on the type of milk you buy. Just get the lactose-free versions if you're lactose intolerant. And depending on the type of milk you buy, the type of pasteurized milk you buy, I'll just put it in mid-tier. Next up, we have red meat. Now, red meat is literally one of the most protein-dense foods on the planet. It's literally one of the most bioavailable protein sources in the planet. And it contains all the essential vitamins and minerals, including zinc, iron, B vitamins, dude. It's really beneficial when it comes to your fat loss journey to fulfill your nutrient requirements as well. So, when it comes to sacrificing the cows, gotta sacrifice the cows, man. Beef all the way. And beef the world. I'm gonna put this in goddess tier. Next up, we have raw cheese. Now this is similar to raw milk, though it's in the form of cheese. Now the reason I put raw cheese there because raw milk in Canada is basically illegal, especially in many states in Canada. So you would have a hard time finding raw milk. However, you can buy raw cheese as an alternative to raw milk to get the same similar nutrients from raw milk, though it's still in the form of cheese. And it is pretty tough to basically find the exact nutrient content and the nutritional database, though it's still beneficial when it comes to helping with your fat loss goals. However, it's still high in calories though. Now, if I had raw cheese in my diet, if I were bulking with raw cheese, I would just add more raw cheese, not too much to the point that my overall nutrient intake would be unbalanced. And for cutting, I would just consume raw cheese to a minimum in terms of getting enough nutrients from raw cheese. So for that reason, I'm just gonna put it in mid tier. Yeah, just like that. Next up, we have cheese. More cheese, more cheese! More cheese! More cheese! More cheese! More cheese! I love cheese. I love cheese. Da-da. I mean, outside of that, I just love cheese. Yeah, so basically, cheese it's still nutrient dense, minus the probiotics and enzymes that are present in the raw milk versions. Though it's still nutrient dense in terms of calcium, some vitamin D, and vitamin K2. So when it comes to cheese, would I include it or pass? Well, if I want to add better cheesy flavorings to my food, I would just pass from the diet. Regular cheese, it's just going to be bulking food basically. It's just bulking food in general though. Next up, we have ice cream. It's basically pure unhealth, bro. It's just not healthy at all. It's filled with sugar, additives, and preservatives, and artificial coloring though. It's just gonna mess up your hormones and then, as well as your digestive system as well, including your metabolic rate. If you make it homemade with healthier ingredients, that's good. But this is based off of store-bought and outside versions of ice cream. This is gonna go to pure garbage, man. Next up, we have Jello. Either regular Jello or sugar-free Jello. I would just never add Jello to my diet in terms of cutting fat, to be honest, because it is filled with additives and preservatives. Now, don't get me wrong, it is still low in calories if you get the sugar-free versions, though would it be worth the sacrifice to your health? Not really. Though, if you really want to consume Jello, I would just make it homemade with healthier ingredients. Though for store-bought, it's really hard to find the healthiest Jello in stores nowadays. And again, it's filled with additives and preservatives, so it's filled with sugar and as well as aspartame and artificial sweeteners. It's not gonna be good for your health, man. You're just gonna end up in the hospital in the future. Down to the garbage tier it goes. And now finally, we got nuts. Now typically nuts would be both a bulking and cutting food. The reason why I say it would be a cutting food is because you can basically control the amount of calories you consume through nuts. Whereas for nut butters, like a single tablespoon would contain more calories. However, majority of them contains phytoestrogens, which lowers your testosterone. It can also increase your estrogen levels. It would be good for women, but for men, not so much. Because for men, we need testosterone to basically build muscle mass and overall well-being. For women, however, it would pretty much be the complete opposite. Most nuts would not be organic as well. Now, nuts are typically the most common snacks that most people would literally consume when they're not tracking their calories from nuts. However, it still does add up calories, dude. You gotta track the calories from nuts, man. It would be a bulking food depending on the type of nuts you buy, because some nuts contain more calories, some nuts can contain slightly less calories, like lowest of mid-tier. And that is it, guys. All of the foods that you see here, except for the garbage tier foods, can be incorporated in moderation, maintaining and fulfilling your nutritional requirements. Though, when it comes to being in a fat loss phase, it is a mental challenge to prevent yourself from consuming foods that take away through your fat loss goals. It is mentally miserable when it comes to being taken away and just restricting yourself from the foods you love, like ice cream, for instance. Like, I know how hard it is, which is why you would need someone to keep you accountable for your fat loss journey. So that way you'll be able to get through your fat loss journey easily with nothing getting in the way. And when it comes to fat loss, it is also a mental challenge through preventing yourself from eating the foods that you love. And plus, it can be very challenging to maintain that yourself, like by yourself, because sometimes you might have cheat meals in which you would eat crappy foods, ideally from the garbage tier, that will basically take away hard work through your fat loss journey, which is why it's recommended to have someone to keep you accountable for your fat loss journey, so that way you'll get the results you want in terms of getting your dream physique, to cut down the fat and show off your hard work. And alongside with the accountability, you would also want someone to teach you on how to overcome these mental challenges, as well as the complexity of the food quality in the world nowadays. Which is why I'm happy to announce that I've finally launched my one-to-one coaching offer, also known as my one-to-one coaching service. Therefore, if you look forward to changing your entire life and putting your fitness and nutrition journey to the next level, all you have to do is head to the link in the description, my description, on YouTube or my Instagram, fill out the form, and I will get in touch. This is superficial towards yourself becoming the best version of yourself, and to get away from the loophole of the dark society that we live in today. Therefore, it is highly recommended to apply to my one-to-one coaching, as I will be able to guide you through the steps efficiently, guarantee results. So be sure, like I said again, to fill out my coaching form, and I will get started towards helping you achieve your fitness and nutrition goals. So with that being said, that's it for this video. And I know that this seems to be very different from what I have recorded, though this is an updated version of the ending. So hopefully you will expect an upgrade, a significant upgrade towards what you would expect for the next upcoming videos of my fitness and nutrition channel. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video, the tier list of me ranking foods that guarantee you to get shredded. So be sure to like and subscribe for more fitness and nutrition content. Peace out, everyone, and see you for the next one.